Welcome to my channel, Train, Don't Strain with me, Mountain Jace. In this series, I want to demonstrate exactly how to target a muscle using the core tenets I expounded earlier in my Foundations of Fitness videos. If you haven't had a chance yet to watch them, I strongly encourage that you do. They will revolutionize the way you approach your gym training sessions. The sad fact is that 9 out of 10 gym goers pay far more attention to getting through their sets as quickly and effortlessly as possible than they do in making sure that they actually intensively work the muscle fibers they are meant to be targeting. Because the body never rewards cheating, this means they are getting almost no benefit from their workouts. When your focus is not on technique, but instead on letting the body find ways to avoid concentrated exertion, then there is no means by which your muscles will grow stronger and fitter over time. Nowhere is this more evident than with cable flies. And I'll tell you now exactly why before going on and putting my muscles where my mouth is and showing you in person how to execute this exercise the evolutionary way. Chest flies are a great exercise. Anyone who's watched Arnie in Pumping Iron will know it is one of his favorite for getting that step up dimension to the side and middle of his pecs. Unfortunately, it's one of those moves that almost everyone fails at because they choose too heavy a weight, confusing the move with dumbbell bench pressing. To avoid this, I always prefer using cables, which allows you to maintain muscle tension through the entire range of motion, both positive and negative. But I get ahead of myself. Firstly, let me tell you the mistakes almost everyone makes when they cable fly. The most important of which is they position their legs as if they were standing in the starting blocks, just about to run a 100-meter sprint. This is not by chance, but because doing so allows for the most dynamic and powerful use of their legs. Let me repeat that phrase again. Most powerful use of their legs. If you have watched my series called Foundations of Fitness, you know that this is a flashing red warning sign that more than one muscle is being incorporated to make an external weight move. This is exactly what should never happen when you train. You must target one muscle at a time in its entirety. This exercise is called cable chest flies for a reason, because when done correctly, it'll work the chest muscle deep into the debilitation zone. That zone that forces the body to build back better over time. So, what I see people doing is, at the exact same point of every repetition, when their hands holding the cable handles are extended back behind them and their arms are straight, they will thrust forward with their legs in order to impart upward momentum into the stack of weights on the machine without ever engaging the millions of muscle fibers in their pecs. They then add additional cheat energy by leaning forward so that their body weight also forces the plates on the machine to continue rising, as well as changing the angle of their elbows so that rather than doing flies, they are simply pushing the cables forward as if chest pressing a bar. Finally, just to make sure they definitely haven't torn any of the correct muscle fibers, they then, once the weight has flown up to its highest point of the positive range, simply turn off all muscular engagement and let gravity drag their arms back behind them to start this fake exercising all over again. Getting fit and strong is hard, as I've outlined in this channel many times. Doing barely 10% of a move correctly is not enough to incite the body to build back better muscles. Going too fast and keeping the cables too high so that the shoulders also become part of the movement are other common mistakes people make that deprive them of getting the most out of this exercise. But that was then, and now is now. So let me show you the evolutionary way to hit the chest when using the cable flies. So, here I am just about to start. As you can see, I'm taking a few seconds to highlight the correct and incorrect way of engaging with this machine. I keep my hands well down below the lowest point of my pecs. That way, the energy must interact with the entire muscle from top to bottom. What you must not do is keep your arms up at the same height as your shoulders, because then the body will prioritize them rather than passing the workload down onto the weaker chest muscles. I'm now showing you, in rather exaggerated fashion, what almost everyone does. That is to say, when their arms are way back behind them, they whipsaw them forward thanks to the force generated from using the mass displacement of their entire body with added leg thrust. See episode 2 of my second series, which fully explains the dangers to your fitness of using this cheat technique. So, never use your bones and legs to create a seesaw in action whereby a weight is lifted thanks solely to your body mass and legs instead of isolated chest muscles alone. So, in the first of 3 sets, I start with an almost 90-degree angle at my hips. That way, if I allowed my legs to thrust, it would result in my torso rising and not the weights on the machine. Notice how I am in absolute control of the weight cables at all times. That is the very definition of training. Everything else is mere weight shifting. See how I'm using the 1:3 ratio between positive and negative range. That is, however long it takes me to make the weights move to their highest point of the positive range, with my hands at their lowest, I fight against gravity to ensure that it takes 3 times longer to then complete the negative portion. Okay, I've changed the camera angle just to make sure you see everything. My breaks between sets are around 1 minute only. In the second set, I keep my shoulders back so that I'm not able to pour more body weight down through the bones in my arms to make the handles move. I'm making sure that I maintain a constant pace with no acceleration thrusts when the relative weight inches towards 0. In this case, when my arms are behind me and the weight is being pulled rather than flied. And here's my final set. I must do everything I want to do to the chest in this last opportunity at hitting as many muscle fibers as possible. After each set, I must have to reduce the weight I'm using, because there are now great layers of muscle fibers that are no longer available to me to generate the same amount of power as when I started. See episode 4 of my Foundations of Fitness series to understand exactly how to train for impressive 3D muscles. Notice how my whole body remains static. Only my arms are moving, and the joints at my elbows remain fixed. That way, I'm not incorporating either the bicep or the tricep in the move. Notice too the shaking that is occurring in my chest muscles. This is a very good thing to see. It means that so many muscle fibers are firing like a V12 engine being revved hard that the whole muscle is oscillating back and forth. Finally, confirming that I've hit the muscle into the debilitation zone, witness how heavily I'm breathing as I have depleted oxygen reserves through intense muscular activity. And that's it. If you do this exercise as I have described, I guarantee you'll see a dramatic increase in strength, cardio, and functional range. This is what success looks like. It's now down to you whether you have the courage to make the changes necessary to join my fitness evolution. Anyway, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you next time. Bye from Mountain Jace.